Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the United Stand. We're here live talking about what Erik ten Hag has been talking with the press about today ahead of the Leeds game tomorrow. Leeds versus Manchester United at Old Trafford. Always a huge game. Just flicked across there to MUTV and they're talking about the rivalry and years gone by, trying to build this game up into something big. It really isn't, because the competition and where Leeds are in the table kind of differs to that argument. But he has been talking about what's going on at United at the moment, and it isn't good news again on the injury front. Antony, as well as Anthony Martial and Scott McTominay, along with Casemiro's suspension, now will be out for this game. Whether Antony is long term, I don't know. He won't be available for the game against Leeds at Old Trafford tomorrow. That's basically what he was getting at. With this talk being mainly around tomorrow's game and not looking ahead, he was quizzed on what he thought about the game on Sunday as well. He tried to keep it strictly down to what was going to be happening tomorrow at Old Trafford. He's probably right, because he can only take one game at a time at the moment. It is full on for Manchester United. We've talked about this a lot. Do you know what? We've got to expect what has happened and what is going to happen going forward right now. Tensions are high. The pressure on games brings the red cards and moments like we got on Saturday against Crystal Palace, along with the sheer workload and pressure on these players. Injury-wise, we're going to get this as well now. And now Antony has joined that list of players that are out. I didn't even see McTominay's injury coming. I didn't know where he got it, whether it was in training, whether it was in a game that we didn't know about, that he sort of hid away. But obviously in midfield right now with Casemiro missing, it is a big subject, and you have to talk about that. We are down to the bare bones in there, and now the forward line is going to change up as well. So that is the main headlines from the press conference today. We're going to touch on some of the other stuff that he was also talking about. Cheers for tuning, everybody. Get your comments in. I want to know what you think about what Ten Hag has said and how my views come across to you as well. And let's get into what was really asked. I mean, the obvious question, we talk about this every single time on press conference reactions, is what's it like? What squad? How's everyone? How's the fitness? Who's available? Who's not available? And that's where Antony came out. Antony, I no idea what the injury is. I've not seen the details of it yet. I'm sure we will find out in due course. There is an embargoed version of this press conference which comes out later tonight. So, yeah, we're looking at it going, Antony, I didn't see that one coming. Looks all right on Saturday. Whether something's happened in training over the weekend or yesterday, we don't know, but he is not being risked. It's an area of the pitch I'm not too concerned about, to be honest. Obviously, Ten Hag has said if it comes away from players that have been playing regularly, we still have to adapt and still play exactly the same way. So who replaces Antony? Well, you could automatically look straight to Jadon Sancho and go, there's your like for like, right-hand sided attacker. He's back in training. Has got a little cameo the other night as well, but didn't play him at all against Crystal Palace. My thoughts on this are, I do believe that it will be Garnacho on the left-hand side, and he's going to push Rashford out to the right-hand side. Just going off how Ten Hag has done this before. You'd expect him to bring in Sancho because it's a like-for-like replacement, but Ten Hag doesn't do things like this. Ten Hag doesn't do the obvious. He just makes it his way, and he's always done that. And who are we to complain? I mean, I've brought up many times, I thought, what is he doing? I just don't see why he's doing that. And then, bang, we end up on the run where we are. We are obviously third in the league, behind the Cheats and Arsenal. And no one can really complain after the start of the season and what we had last season. So who am I to question Ten Hag? If he thinks this is going to work out right, I'm all for it. But let's look at it this way. It is another chance for Garnacho, probably. Has he been performing well enough from the start? Some would say no. Some would say the better options, or Garnacho, especially himself, has been better off the bench as an impact player, which probably is true. Obviously, you look at his impact in the derby, and you look at what he did against Fulham. Obviously, at weekend again, when he came on, when he made that impact instantly, he is that player that comes off the bench and makes things happen. He's a bit of the unknown and can catch defenders off guard well into games. From the start, not been as impressive, to be honest. So for me, I look at it and I go, it's another chance for him. Let's see what he's got against a very, very, well, I don't know where Leeds are going to be at the moment in terms of this game and how they're going to approach it. Obviously, Jesse Marsch was sacked on Monday. So where their heads are at, I don't know how they approach it. It's the unknown. Ten Hag actually talked about that in his press conference. He was asked the question, does it actually change your setup now? Does it change how you approach the game? And he said, yes, it does. Of course it does, because you set up for a Jesse Marsh style team, a Jesse Marsh style football, and then you come into it and it's completely different because they've got a new manager in the dugout. So you have to adapt. You have to adapt. So we got to look at it and go, we don't know what's coming from Leeds. So how he approaches it, he can only approach it in a way of like, we can't really be thinking too much against Leeds, the fourth bottom anyway, and we're at home on the back of 13 straight wins. They should be more concerned about how we're approaching the game. Super chat in there from Lee Taylor. Cheers for that, Lee. Antony missing, again, starting to get a bit of a concern now. Let me know what you think about the injuries. I mean, I said it at the start, we've got to expect this now. We cannot expect to go through the rest of this season now with the amount of games with a clean bill of health all the way through. These problems are going to come about. Unfortunately for us at the moment, it's coming in our creative attacking side of the team. Obviously, Eriksen with a long-term loss. Obviously, we're losing Casemiro for 3 games, but Antony as well, he was getting better and better each game. This is what's going to happen. I mean, I'm not too concerned with Antony as much as other players. Casemiro's the big one. Antony, we've got plenty of replacements for, in my opinion. Let me know if you would play, actually, in terms of that right-hand side. How would you approach it, everybody? Get your comments in the comment section. Would you bring in Sancho to that right-hand side? Would you do like what Erik ten Hag has done before, like I said? Would you bring Rashford back out to the right-hand side and put Garnacho on the left? Do you feel like Rashford is effective there? How would you go about it? Some people are actually saying bring Pellistri back in. Nicholas there, Sancho back in, get Pellistri in, says Michigan. It's what it is. It's what it is. It's a tough one to call, and I don't think it's our worst case scenario, to be honest. I think we've got bigger problems in central midfield, and Antony isn't as much as a concern in terms of how this team progresses on the pitch, how we structure attacks and stuff like that. I think we've got ample squad depth in that department, to be fair. It's the Casemiro one. It's the Casemiro one which is interesting because he is like the one that kickstarts everything. I've just seen Samuel Lucker's tweet that goes out there. And we're looking at Sabitzer getting his first full debut. I can't see anyone else coming into that midfield area but him. Ten Hag has been impressed with him. He said that. He's impressed with his start, how he's trained. Obviously, he came on and his cameo, he looked really, really good. He looked really good the other day when he came on against Crystal Palace in that short time. Stabilised that midfield quite a bit, actually. And under the pressure, you could see what type of player he was. So fully expect to see a first start for Sabitzer, which will be good and good to see. And you know what? It makes that transfer deadline day signing all the more important and crucial to Manchester United's season. When these sort of things happen in a season and you look at it and you go, that was a big moment. Missing Eriksen and then obviously Casemiro going out. These 3 games are massive right now that Casemiro is missing. Yeah, on paper it may look completely different, but when you look at it, you've got to look and go, well, we've dropped points when we've not expected it before. These 3 wins could really put pressure on the top 2 because no one else is playing tomorrow night. If we win tomorrow, then we are slap bang level points with Manchester City and 5 behind Arsenal. Games in hand aside, yes. But one of them games in hand, it is them 2 playing each other. It has that little bit of pressure on them as well. And yeah, we can talk about title charges and whatnot. And it is unrealistic. It really is for the position and where Ten Hag is and how far his development is with this squad. But still, it absolutely breeds confidence into this team, winning and pushing the top 2 as hard as they can, as far as they can, then moves into the cup competitions, which I think we can win all of them. And I've said this many times before. It's not the treble, but it is a treble. And that is the Europa, the League Cup and the FA Cup. So, yeah, I think we've got to go into these games, try and play exactly the same way that we have done. I mean, I wasn't too happy about how we adapted to the 10 men when we went down to Crystal Palace. I said it at weekend. I wasn't happy with how we just sat back. I thought we could have still played exactly the same way. Yeah, a little bit different because Casemiro is a quality player and you're not replacing him with the same quality, but Sabitzer is an experienced player. We just took a little bit of time to adapt, but that's the worry with Manchester United. Ten Hag has also been talking about the bigger concern, which is obviously with Leeds being back-to-back home and away, the conversations come about, well, at home, it seems to be a lot different to what it is away. And it is. We are struggling definitely to score goals away from home. It's what's really hampered our goal difference that we've got at the moment. When you look at the league table and you look at the goal differences for all the teams in that top six, and then you look at United's at +8, it's pretty dire. But you look at our home form, and our home form reads, I think, +14 or 13 with our home. With scoring enough goals at home, it's away from home where the problem is. And Ten Hag was quizzed on this. Obviously, like I said, with the double header coming up, there was questions for home and away. But I'm sure Manchester United, after the game tomorrow night, then Ten Hag will be asked questions regarding Ellen Road and the difference that's going to be compared to tomorrow night. And he said that's the next stage of our development. It is basically trying to make the away form as good as what it is at home. There's no reason. He says it's 11 against 11. The pitches are the same size, and you have to play exactly and have the same mindset as you do at home. It's all right with the home fans behind you. This is what a Manchester United player has to deal with. You have to deal with what comes in the away games, which is pretty much cup final football wherever Manchester United go. That's what it is. Play Martinez as CDM with Shaw. No, I wouldn't go that way with that one, Chris. Honestly, I think we've got a perfect replacement for Casemiro in Sabitzer, and like I said, the importance of that signing on deadline day was huge, and now it's coming to full fruition as to why we had to make that signing. It was so crucial to our season that I don't think anyone realised we'd be needing it as quickly as we had. But things happen when it's game after game. Emotions run high and the pressure comes on, whether it's physically and we get an injury or mentally, and you just may have that lapse in concentration. Ten Hag was quizzed about Casemiro's red card. He obviously said what he said on the day and how he thought 12 players, 11 players from each team crossed the line and the consistency wasn't right. We all know the consistency. I think every single one of us had our say on the officiating of that game against Crystal Palace at weekend. It was an absolute disgrace. It was an absolute disgrace. But he also talked about how obviously you can't do what Casemiro did. And Manchester United, in fact, did not appeal the red card. There was a lot of talk on Mark's show this morning. A few people were saying that Manchester United have appealed the red card, but that's turned out not to be true. Manchester United did not appeal the red card, and we are where we are. We're another midfielder down. It's as simple as that. We learned to cope without him. And in a way, if there was 3 games I had to pick, yeah, that Leeds game at Ellen Road, probably with the pressure that comes in that atmosphere, I'd love a Casemiro in there and that experience. But if there were 3 games I needed to pick this month that I wouldn't have Casemiro in, it would be these 3. Obviously, I'd like him in all of them, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. But I would say these games, and he's fully rested for both the Barcelona games and then the cup final. Yeah, okay, it's not too bad. It looks bad if we don't get the results against Leicester and the doubleheader against Leeds, though. Like I said at the start, these 3 games are massive, absolutely huge. And how we approach tomorrow is as important as how we approach Barcelona and Newcastle. Win the game that's in front of you. Let's not look too far ahead. That's exactly how Ten Hag has come across in his press conference. And I think how he's come across in near enough every single press conference that he's done. I do believe that he looks at it and goes, we've got this team that is going to take down Leeds tomorrow night. We'll then deal with what comes after that game, rather than like when Sir Alex Ferguson had players put aside. Remember at the Class of 92 video when you looked at it and you went, oh, I've got you for this game. I'm going to play you. Remember the interview with Gary Neville when he says, I'm not going to play you today, and he's gutted. And then you look across and it was like, I've got you for this game, no. And that's what's important. And I don't see Ten Hag doing that. I think he's played his strongest team whenever he can. I mean, we've had many conversations with Ricky and how Ricky sees it. He loves it, the fact that Ten Hag just plays his strong team and takes every game seriously. Tom Grant with a super there. At least Kaz gets a rest. Score predictions. I'm going with 4-1 United tomorrow. That's a big, bold bold score prediction, but I do feel like Manchester United are going to get a few goals tomorrow. I do feel like Leeds have got a little summit, but usually more often than not this season with Leeds, I think it's been a little bit too late, to be honest, with their scores. They don't score enough goals, and when they do score them, the game's probably already done. That's, I think, has been Leeds' problem. And what Jesse Marsh alluded to in his interview after the game at weekend against Nottingham Forest, you could see the demoralisation in his face after that game against Forest, and you could tell something wasn't quite right. But, I mean, even Ten Hag has been quizzed about it, and you get the usual manager response. It's never nice. We never like to see a manager. Managers should be given their time, says Ten Hag, when asked about Jesse Marsh's departure from Leeds on Monday. But he also says, look, it changes things up for us now. It doesn't make anything easier for us. I alluded to it earlier on. It's like, you know how Jesse Marsh is going to approach a game. Now we've not got a clue. How Leeds are coming out and playing. I do think the sheer fact that Manchester United are at home in this game is where we actually hold the advantage. And I think with our home form, no matter who it was or what circumstances it may be, new manager bounce again for United to deal with. It is crazy. A few people say new manager bounce there, but it's not quite a new manager. I'm hoping that they don't have anyone in by the time the second game comes around on Sunday, and they are just taking the time and maybe just seeing out the United games first, because you know what Manchester United are like when it comes to new manager bounces. Even Ten Hag has said it. You have to be ready. He alluded to the Aston Villa game. I remember being at that game, and I just had that. I was confident going in. I had that little thought, you know what it's like. Manchester United's history with new manager bounces, it just doesn't go well. It's not our thing. We just don't deal well with it. And I looked at it and I thought, do you know what? Please don't have anyone in. Don't have anyone in for this game at weekend. Confident, no matter if they brought anyone in at home, I think United can deal with it. But we always get a manager bounce when we're away from home at a decent opposition, like a tough opposition, a hostile one. It's like Villa Park, famous old school ground, big club. Unai Emery comes in, who's got the voodoo on us anyway. He waited 2 weeks and then in he came for the United game. Brilliant time to come in. And now we've got Leeds, our arch rivals, the biggest game for me in the Premier League, which is United. In terms of rivalry, United against Leeds has no competition at all. You forget about City and Liverpool or anyone else. Leeds against United holds different. It's a different animal altogether. And I think Ten Hag's first experience of it will tell him that. I think he is well up on what is about to come when we get to Welling Road. I mean, the Leeds away fans will be boisterous tomorrow, but again, with United's form at home, I do expect United to see out this game tomorrow relatively comfortably. Although Casemiro missing, got Nonto who's decent for Leeds on the break. I mean, Bamford's not firing for Leeds. I just see the elements to Leeds' team which are good and working, but they're just not cohesive enough, I think, to challenge United. They'll put up a fight. I know they will, but I just see them leaking goals at the back. Unless the caretaker manager in charge just looks at it and says, like, it's backs to the wall. Let's just be solid. Let's just try and just hold our own and then catch United on the break. If you had any sense and you watch United this season, that's how you'd approach the game, because that's where United always come unstuck. Teams that sit behind the ball and wait for Manchester United to actually make a mistake are the ones that usually come out and actually win against us or get something from us. That's what it is. I mean, you look at it and you go, what game? Crystal Palace. It was a prime example of it, where they just sat back and we ended up going deeper and deeper and deeper and then inviting Crystal Palace on. It's staying in the game. Crystal Palace did it to us at Old Trafford as well. I mean, Vieira would have been over the moon after 60 minutes being at 1-0 with Manchester United. That for him is in the game. That for teams at the bottom is still in the game, and anything can happen. We've seen it many a times. So if I was a Leeds manager, that's how I'd be looking at it. Ten Hag was also quizzed on the Manchester City situation. I'm not going to go into this one too much myself because we've got a 4 o'clock show, which I'm on live with Ricky. So do tune into that one later on, guys. That will be me and Ricky and Adam Talks at 4 o'clock today. We will be talking over what's going on there at City and a few other subjects as well. So we'll keep that one there. Erik ten Hag pretty much binned it off like you'd expect him to. Nothing to do with me, concentrating on Manchester United, and that's where his opinion is on that. I mean, it's funny. It'll be funny if the Premier League actually do go through with it, but we will see. We will see. It's with this, we've seen it before with them, and it all gets blown over. Big fines that they just use their pocket change for. Blah de blah. That's it. A few comments. Let's just get a few in. Mr. Melonhead says, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays Lindelof as CDM and slowly rotates Sabitzer in. There is an element to that where he does like to ease his players in. I just feel like with the amount of midfielders out and how good Sabitzer is and the experience that he has got, I don't think Ten Hag would have a problem in bringing him in. I think the comments that he made about him being very impressed with him in training ring true for me, and I think that's why I'd expect to see Sabitzer start. I think he'll play the full game, to be honest. He's raring to go. He's one player that is fully rested, obviously, with having the World Cup off and then the German break. He's not played much football at all. So there was a player in a position I wanted to come in that had this big rest. It would be central midfield, and it would be someone of the quality of Marcel Sabitzer. So yeah, I'm taking that all day long, and I think he's more than adequate replacement for the games we've got coming up for not having Casemiro. I'm just looking through a few other things that's been said. It's there. I can't see there. Antony Martial is not there. Yeah, he's just talking regarding the injuries again, and that is the top topic, you could say. Let's just see what you guys are at. 2-0. We beat them. Yep. Sabitzer raring to go. Exactly. That's what it is. I mean, guys, so I want to know, actually, I did it before, but I didn't see all the messages. The two major outs in this game are Antony and Casemiro, obviously. We know about Martial. Again, no point in going over what we've already gone over many a times. Very unreliable. The situation is just getting worse and worse for him. But in terms of the right-hand side of the three front players and the central midfield, who are we picking? Who's coming in? What are you saying? Let me know what you think, everyone. Who comes into the right-hand side for Antony? We touched on that a minute ago with maybe bringing Rashford on the right and Garnacho on the left. Do we put Sancho in? Or is it Sabitzer in the middle? Some people have said Lindelof. Some people have said Martinez. Roll them into holding midfield. Where are you going with it? Mike Sharp, remember, says Sancho and Sabitzer. Rashford will score again. I hope so. Sancho on the right, says George. Definitely Sancho winning the bet here. I've just had a big long line of people saying Sancho. Kane or Osimhen? Adam. Well, Osimhen comes first, but I'd take Kane in a heartbeat. Everyone knows that. I think Mark even talked about that this morning, actually. I understand the Osimhen first, though. I do understand that. But I think Manchester United have been priced out. I think we're going to touch on that with Ricky a bit later on in terms of the striker situation and what's going on. Sancho, Weghorst and Rashford, says Michael Christian. I think that would probably be what I would go with, naturally. I want to see Sancho come back. I think he showed really good signs the other night against Nottingham Forest. I thought he looked decent when he came on. Obviously, he flirted with a few different positions when he came on, but I think we definitely play Sancho on the right-hand side. This probably won't be what Ten Hag goes with, but I look at it and I go, if there is one player there that is raring to go again, you could possibly bring in two of the fittest players that we've got in terms of rested up in Jadon Sancho and Marcel Sabitzer. Full-on internationals with class and exactly the quality of player we need to come in. You're missing two key players in areas that are important to the way that Ten Hag's system works. And you offered me Sabitzer and then Sancho to come into them positions. I would go, I'm not too bad with that. I think that works quite well. I do. A few people still wanting to change it up. Bring Garnacho in the second half, says Ibnu. Hi, Adam. Sancho. Oh, I missed that one. Sorry, I'll scroll back down, try and get that one. And hi, Adam. Sancho and Bruno can interchange during the game. I understand that, even though I don't like Bruno out on the right, but then Bruno just goes everywhere anyway. So I understand that comment. Is Pellistri left-footed? He's right-sided. I think he's right-footed. I need to double-check on that one, actually. Garnacho, Rashford, Sancho. So, Luke Hayden would bring Rashford into the middle and play Garnacho on the left and Sancho on the right. That's a new one. That's an interesting one. I can see how and why he's gone with that. I think it's doable. I don't think Ten Hag will go near that, to be fair. I really don't. But I do think that is an option there. And you know what? You could even see that through the state of the game. I think later on in the game, if we make substitutions, I think we could possibly see that as another option, especially if we're struggling or if, like I said, Leeds do actually do a bit of homework and then go solid at the back and make it hard for us to break them down. You could see a sort of a more dynamic front three where Garnacho, Sancho and Rashford are involved. I think we'll see Weghorst from the start. I think that's where Ten Hag has got. I think he's got his fix on that now. I think that's where it would be. When Martial isn't fit, Weghorst starts up front. It's the only position that he can play. He can't go anywhere else on the pitch for me. So I see Weghorst in. It's just debatable where he plays Rashford, I think. If he plays him on the left or the right, obviously it means Garnacho plays if he plays Rashford on the right. How about we give Kobe Mainoo a chance in the second half? Depends where the game is. It really does. Shahuk, I think I said that right. Sorry if I said that wrong. I do believe that that's where Ten Hag's head is with it. I think that's right as well. I don't think Mainoo is fully there yet, not developed. But if we are 3 or 4-0 up, then yeah, I'm all for that. Weghorst needs to get some goals, as that's what she said. I mean, he does. Someone needs to contribute. Someone does need to contribute. I mean, Marcus Rashford has got more goals than our whole front line combined. I've seen the stat come up. I think earlier on, it was earlier on today, actually, about Rashford and how many goals he's got. He is massively important to us for our goal tally at the moment. I think he's holding us up in terms of goals scored right now. Not enough of the other forward players. Bruno's come into the fray a little bit recently, but the other players really need to start contributing a little bit more. Do you think he starts Dalot, Adam? George says. No, I don't think so, George. I think he's not going to risk it in the Premier League. I think Wan-Bissaka has had enough time off early on in the season that he feels confident he can play him through all the games. And I've said it all. I'm Dalot's biggest fan. I really am. He turned my head and proved to me that he is a top-class right-back. I'd given up on Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But under Ten Hag, in this second stint, Aaron Wan-Bissaka has proved me wrong. Completely proved me wrong. I thought Wan-Bissaka was done. But I cannot ignore what's in front of me. And his improvement and the change from last season's Wan-Bissaka. I mean, I can say that about a few players. A lot of players were out last season and totally off it. It's probably unfair of me to just pinpoint Wan-Bissaka. I just thought he had no say. The fact that we were looking for a right back, Dalot had number one. And then all of a sudden, he plays as well as he has, and he's turned Ten Hag's head and stops us going out for a right back. He's saved the club a bleeding fortune. Wan-Bissaka, by coming back in this second stint of form, he's been absolutely outstanding. Yeah, he does have his limitations still going forward, but that is getting better. And that's slightly what I'm a bit gutted about when it comes to Antony being injured, because that partnership between Antony and Wan-Bissaka was actually, it was really moving along. It was really getting there. The combinations, the sync between them, the camaraderie and the link-up play was getting there with them too. And I think that a little bit longer we'll start to see the best out of Antony, because it takes time to build that partnership down that side. For a long time, people always said it was Rashford and Luke Shaw was the best combination on the left. It's proving that way. I mean, most of our quality work comes from Rashford. It's where the opening goal came from on Saturday. Again, Rashford and Shaw combined. Well, if you think that Rashford and Shaw combined for both goals, it was Rashford's ball through to Shaw, which set up the tackle that Rashford then put in was the handball. Garnacho out to Luke Shaw, who then put the ball in for Marcus Rashford. If you give Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Antony a little bit more time to build up that partnership, you could find Manchester United being just as deadly on the right-hand side. It was getting there. I'm just gutted. I hope that Antony's injury isn't too severe and we do see him back, because that's important that you grow them relationships. And it was very interesting that Ten Hag brought Sancho back in the middle and the number 10 role. I completely poo-pooed the idea of it, but I understand the qualities that Sancho has got, and maybe in tight positions he can play that role. I just don't. What am I? My look on that was, look, Sancho, I feel, is a first team player, but Bruno plays nearly every game. So for me, Bruno is always going to be there. Therefore, why don't we just bring Sancho back out on the right hand side? That's how I looked at it, and that's what I thought would have been our best option for Sancho coming back in. And then I sort of contradict myself and bring up the argument that Antony needs more time on the right because he is building a really healthy partnership with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So there's pros and cons for everything, and that right-hand side has plenty of them. The left-hand side, I think, is just set in stone. I really do. That Shaw and Rashford link-up is deadly. We've got it with England. We've got it with United. It's an understanding there that you can't really disturb, and that's why I would be surprised if Ten Hag looked at it and brought Rashford back out to the right. I mean, Garnacho and Shaw doesn't, as good as Garnacho is, I just don't think he's as strong as Rashford on the left-hand side with Shaw behind him. I don't think that is our best bet. I do believe that Ten Hag will probably bring in someone else as a replacement for Antony on the right. Now, Ten Hag will probably completely prove me wrong again, but it is that is the opportunity he's got there right now. Can Sancho nail down that right-hand side? He's got every opportunity now. We don't know how bad Antony's injury is, so let's look at it this way. There's a chance for Sancho tonight, and Ten Hag has backed every single player that's come in and played well. Whether a player goes out injured and someone comes in, if that player does well, then Ten Hag ultimately backs him and gives him more game time, rewards the player for playing well. And that's what's built this healthy competition within Manchester United's squad right now. And I think that is a perfect opportunity for Sancho, because you're looking in as Jadon Sancho, you're going, all I have to do is play well, give everything, and I will get my chance. It isn't a false dawn anymore. It's not like under Ole. The favourites aren't coming in. Go in there tonight, Sancho, and prove to Ten Hag that you are back. And that right-hand side position is where you belong. Another contradiction coming. Ten Hag likes his inverted wingers. Sancho predominantly right-footed. Does he then miss playing Sancho on the left-hand side and Rashford back out on the right? Oh, I hope not. I really do. But you know what? Ten Hag, I would not put it past him. I really wouldn't. He is that man who's strict and believes in his own philosophy. So, yeah, if it does happen, then I would not be surprised on that side either. There's multiple combinations we could see in that front three for Manchester United tonight. What I do believe will be set in stone is that midfield with Sabitzer, Bruno and Fred, and then the back four that played against Palace. Shaw, Wan-Bissaka with Martinez and Varane and David De Gea behind them. That's what it will be. Guys, that pretty much sums up the press conference. The later embargoed version is out tonight, and we'll probably get a bit more information on it, maybe some more details on Antony's injury. But yeah, the main headlines coming out of the press conference are obviously Ten Hag's approach will change with the sacking of Jesse Marsch. The injury news is not great. We've got another injury with Antony now joining McTominay and Martial. We did not appeal Casemiro's red card. Therefore, he will miss the next 3 Premier League games. There's no debate in that now. That's been put to bed by Ten Hag in the presser today. And Manchester United need to improve their away form, pretty much. That sums up everything what Ten Hag has said. Guys, cheers for tuning in and watching us. We will be back at 4 o'clock. Me and Ricky will be back discussing everything that's happened over the weekend in the Premier League, United and more. I may even get Ricky's comments on what he said after the game against Nottingham Forest, where he would drop Rashford for the final. Maybe I should quiz him on that one as well. We'll see. Plenty to talk about as always. Stay tuned. Loads of content as always coming up on the United Stand. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like, share and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, then you will know when we're about to go live.